Well, here right now, joining us via Skype from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where viewers can see us on Catholic Life Television and E-Tel, is Becky Eldredge. Thanks so much for being with us, Becky. How are you?
I'm good, Jay. How are you this morning?
I am doing great. I'm having a very good morning, which I like. Hey, your book trailer starts off with a declaration that you are not a monk, but a Catholic wife and a mom incorporating prayer in a busy life. Tell us how normal people find space for prayer, because it's such a busy world out there today.
Yes, it is a busy world. We have many, many roles and responsibilities, and I think it comes down to we make time for what we value. And if we value our relationship with God, we make time to spend with God on a daily basis. And thankfully, throughout my last 15 years or so, people taught me, different priests, religious sisters, laymen and women, they taught me how to actually bring prayer into my daily life, even as a married woman, even as a mom of 3 and doing the ministry work I do. They really, and I really think it comes down to, they helped me learn how to pray my life and bring my life before God.
Becky, I don't know if you saw that piece. I know you're not married 75 years, but how long have you guys been married?
We're almost 14 on July 12th.
Uh-oh, you better get that right.
July 12th.
Congratulations in advance.
Thank you. Well, but that was beautiful to hear what he said. It made me think of my grandparents who just celebrated 65 years on May 8th. So,
same story.
Beautiful, but you could hear in his voice, I bet you he's a man of prayer. He's just beautiful.
Yeah. So anyways, in your busy lives, your restless souls, you take a fresh approach in writing this book to the principles of Ignatian spirituality. Could you share some of those principles with us today?
Sure. Well, first, I think it starts with, when we think of the word restless, I think sometimes we think it's a bad word. You know, I mean, I don't like feeling restless. I don't think anybody does. But one of the gifts of St. Ignatius's discernment wisdom is, when we feel restless, he invites us to think about it as a way of God getting our attention. And so some of that restlessness that we feel, and he invites us to look at it at different ways, but it's often our hunger for God and God getting our attention to draw us into relationship. And so when I meet with people for spiritual direction, I often tell them, when you feel that restlessness, yeah, it doesn't feel great, but say thank you. It's God drawing you and saying, hey, I want to be in relationship with you. And what we can do then is acknowledge it and start showing up in prayer to nurture it. Mm-hmm. So the restlessness is a gift, you know, and I mean, and that restlessness also appears, I think, when we misstep, you know, when we sin, when we make a bad choice, we might feel guilt, we might feel like something's off. And again, it reminds me always of Psalm, I think it's 63, that says, in God alone is my soul at rest. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's one of the foundations, I think, of Ignatian spirituality, is we are at rest in God alone. Mm-hmm. Right? And so often in our lives, I think we turn to other relationships, or, you know, our work or money or things. And ultimately what our faith teaches us, you know, is that God is the one who fulfills all. So that's a starting point. And then throughout the book, and just throughout my lived experience of trying to journey through prayer as a wife and mom, is some great tools that I think to incorporate in our daily life. One of them is the Examen, which goes back, you know, Ignatius often gets credit for, but it's a way of bringing our last 24 hours before God, right? With that key first step question of, God, show me my day as you saw it, mm-hmm. Right?
Well, you know, it's interesting. The other day, my son took his learner's permit test, and I said a prayer, you know, just that, because he was very nervous about it. And oftentimes we resort to prayer in times of joy or distress, or we know someone else is going through something. How do we structure our time to make prayer happen every day?
ask 3 questions. You know, what can be our time of prayer? What can be our space of prayer and our place of prayer? And first thing is, just like when we're starting a new exercise program or anything new in our life, is we kind of get ourselves set up. And St. Ignatius always invites us to prepare the night before for our next day's prayer. So if we can look at our calendars and our day-to-day, our week's routine, and say, when can we actually incorporate prayer into our daily life? You know, are you a morning prayer? Are you an afternoon? Are you middle of the day? Are you late at night? I think we all have a natural time that we're drawn to prayer and that we can find some stillness. Yes, Bishop Reed.
Becky, just because we're running out of time, I know people want to follow you in your speaking engagements, and I'm certain they're going to want to get a copy of this book because a lot of times we all feel like something's missing from our lives. Where can people go to follow you and get the book?
Yes, well, I have a website, BeckyEldredge.com, and I write weekly reflections there. I'm doing a series called Making Hope Real right now. And then the book is available at kind of all your online, you know, Loyola Press, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. And you can also get it at your local, a lot of the local Catholic bookstores, if you want to go in person, or in Barnes & Nobles in person and buy it. So.
Well, Becky, thanks so much for being with us today. We always enjoy when we have one of our friends from Baton Rouge, Louisiana on. And you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye
Take
now.
care. God bless.
Bye.